Coming up on the Together for Good podcast, I finally, after 6 years of running this podcast, sat down and had a conversation with Rick Seaton, the director of music here at Bethany. He's awesome. We had so much to talk about in terms of our thoughts about worship and about Lutheran worship and Lutheran musical history, and it was super fun. You're going to enjoy it. Here we go. Welcome to the Together for Good podcast, a podcast created by Bethany Lutheran Church in Cherry Hills Village, Colorado, and hosted by me, Pastor Nate Preisinger. On Together for Good, our goal is to provide practical, engaging content that supports you without expectations. Whether you're feeling disconnected from traditional religion or simply exploring what faith means in your life, we're here to walk alongside you. No matter where you are on your journey of faith, we're glad you're here. Welcome to Together for Good. Welcome, everybody, to the Together for Good podcast. I'm seated in the sanctuary with the one and only Rick Seaton. Hello, Rick. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Nate.
It has been way too long. I apologize that it's taken 5 years to finally get you on the podcast. That's on me, not on you. But we're sitting in your favorite spot between the organ and the piano, which you play so well. And I have so many questions for you. We're going to really get into that. First and foremost, I just want to hear, and people might not know, how long have you been doing this whole organ director of music thing at Bethany?
I've been here since July of 2010.
Okay.
So I guess I'm coming up on 16 years. That's a long time.
Holy cow, that is a long time.
Yeah.
But you've been playing organ long before that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I started playing the piano at age 6, started learning the organ at about 17. And, you know, got a couple music degrees in addition to an MBA. So
yeah, and I mean, that's the interesting thing, too. Before coming to Bethany, you weren't like at a different church as the...
Oh, yeah. No,
were you?
I was the organist at Central Presbyterian for about 6 years. And at that time, my major source of income was piano teaching.
Gotcha.
Before that, I was in the corporate world for about 12 years.
Yeah, in corporate you were...
I was in finance and accounting.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you, I mean, growing up, did you have a sense that you wanted to like make music kind of a full-time gig if possible? Or, I mean, if you brought in the accounting thing, you must have gone away from that for a while.
Yeah.
Just kind of curious the process.
I sort of chickened out on music for a while, but yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's not.
No.
To find a full-time job, I mean, a lot of musicians have to just string together a lot of
Well, I mean,
part-time
I know a
things.
lot of people in our choir do that, where I
yeah.
talk to him, like the assistant director, Matthew Eshelman, he's like, yeah, I have 7 jobs right now.
Yep.
And he's always here teaching lessons as one of them. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
just exhausting. But you were fortunate enough, you were at Central Presbyterian, but then you grew up Lutheran, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I grew
down
up
the street.
at Prince of Peace Lutheran down the street. I grew up like 5 minutes from here, just north of the church. So I'd like to brag, I'm the most, not only a native Coloradan, but I grew up like right next to the church. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's just set the record straight right now. If you were to only choose your faith based on the breadth of musical accomplishments, like it would be the Lutherans.
Oh, for sure.
Like we have the best music by far.
Yeah.
And like the greatest history of musicianship. I had a friend in college who was Catholic, and he's like, yeah, like if it was only about the music, I'd convert to Lutheranism tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's always stuck with me.
Right.
He had other factors in mind. But like, I mean, just give us what makes you affirm that statement that I'm making. Because I don't think people recognize and realize just how rich the Lutheran history is musically speaking.
Yeah. Well, you could start off with this guy, maybe you've heard of him, J.S. Bach,
I have heard of him.
Widely regarded, even by secular people, as the greatest composer in the history of music. And so much of his output was dedicated towards producing music for the church.
Correct.
So, you have Bach, you have Handel, you have Mendelssohn, you have this, this whole line of composers going back to, well, even before the time of Bach. A lot of those great German composers from pre-Bach times are also Lutherans. So yeah, there's no single denomination that really compares, other than the Catholic faith, and they have a very rich.
They're pretty good too.
Yeah, they have a very rich musical tradition as well, which I think they're trying to rediscover as well, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a part that I lament a lot of the time too, is that I don't think your everyday Lutheran understands just how much this is a part of our DNA and how deep back it goes.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned Bach. I mean, the man was prolific, and I don't know how you can create that much music, nonetheless that much musical genius when you really look at it. Like it's all mathematically based, it seems, in ways I can't even fully comprehend. And he basically wrote music for every Sunday of the church year. Is that fair? Like, I mean, how many works are there? Do you even know?
There in the catalog of Bach works, there's like over 1,000 things.
Yeah.
But some of those are, multi-movement works that last a really long time. So, I mean, and then there are as many works we know of that are lost. So it's just, it's well over 1,000. If you count individual movements of pieces, it's thousands.
It's so crazy. And again, and each one is just so intricate and carefully put together.
Yeah.
With Bach, and I know you're not a Bach scholar, but I've always kind of been curious myself. Was he writing these just for his congregation? And that was kind of the idea, is that he just had a very talented group that he worked with, and so would put out these musical pieces on a regular basis for that local church? Or was it always intended to be wider audience, like kind of concert style? I'm just kind of curious about the logistics of it, if you know.
He would never have expected to be like it performed in a concert. Yes, it was for his local church.
Yeah.
Leipzig, the last place that he worked, being, not a small town, but not like the biggest of the big cities. Some people consider that a bit of a cultural backwater. So he was producing mainly for his own church. And this was a normal thing though at that time, that you would you'd have a choir. I mean, he taught at the school. He had boys from the school as his soprano and alto voices, and then he had tenor and bass voices, and he had soloists and he had instrumentalists. So there was a budget for all this music. For it to be the Kapellmeister at that time, that was expected, that you would produce a fair number of custom custom works just for the church.
And it's obviously Bach is like a singular talent in all of history, and it doesn't feel like that's how churches tend to work much anymore. It's one of the things I love about Bethany is that, you and I have worked together on that Advent liturgy that we came up with, and I know you come up with pieces every now and then as well for the choir or your postludes or preludes, things like that. But why do you think, is it just like a talent and a time commitment, or do you feel like we've lost something in terms of how we relate to church and church music? That's where this has just become not common at all for people to create works for their local congregation.
Right. And if we, as part of reclaiming our historical tradition, that should be considered normal.
Absolutely.
Not that you would expect in this day and age your music director to write a new cantata every single week. But
why aren't you doing that?
I'm slacking off. It should be considered normal. And there are other Lutheran music directors that do a fair amount of that. So either you're creating new stuff or you're finding new things. We talk about the liturgy. That was never, or it never should be considered normal, that it's like you just sing the same liturgy setting every Sunday
week,
forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
People might resist having to learn new settings, but it's like that's what it's, for Reformation or pre-Reformation, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like you're supposed to have different settings that you.
Yeah, why are you? Well, hang on. First off, a fun story. At my first church where I was the pastor, if you dropped the hymnal, it would automatically open to LBW setting 2, because that was all that they ever used since Moses' time. And it was really fun to you take any hymnal, you just drop it, and it automatically opened there.
Yeah.
But why do you think it is so important to be exploring other settings and having, if possible, writing music for the sake of the local congregation? Like what makes you so strongly committed to that?
That's what makes worship interesting. Within a framework, the liturgy gives us a framework, a structure, a skeleton, but then we have the opportunity to, decorate that, if you will, in a different way, in an interesting way. There's a line from the Psalms: "Sing to the Lord a new song." So we have these the liturgical traditions goes back, some of these things can be traced back to like early, like the first few centuries. you
Right.
know? And so it's a valuable thing to stay with them, but it's not like we do the exact same thing every week. We have different music, different liturgy settings. And the other really cool thing about that is that so much of this music, whether it's hymns or choir anthems, is tailored very, very specifically to, a particular lesson, a particular season, which, a lot of today's Christian music doesn't do that. It's just very general and repetitive. It's like, it just doesn't matter what the liturgical season is or the lectionary. There are pieces written and hymns written very specifically to fit that theme of the day.
I'm so glad you bring it up because I think the liturgical seasons give us a window into how to think about this and why it's important, right? Like over the course of a year, because of the liturgical seasons, we confront different stories and different aspects of the Bible and different aspects of the life of faith.
Yep.
And like I always say, people complain about Pentecost being so long. And I'm like, no, like I think it's good because part of the life of faith is like you get bored. I think there's something actually wise about us having a really long season where it's like, is it over yet? Is it over yet?
Yeah.
Because it's not always about novelty in the life of faith. And that's just one example, right? If we didn't have Lent, would we go that like self-reflective and repentant on our own? I don't think we would.
Right.
Right? Like it forces you into these spaces and into the like just to think about different things that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah.
And to your point, writing new music, right? You stick within the forms of the liturgy, so it has this ancient rootedness, but then you also get to start exploring it in different ways so that the words don't just become white noise.
Right.
But it's like, oh, like is that really what the Kyrie is about? That's what we're doing here? Oh, right? Like, whereas if you just sing the same version every time, it would probably become white noise pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So with all this, I mean, you're hinting at it too. Let's talk, because there's always so much going on in our Lutheran churches, especially about this like contemporary traditional debate of things. And first off, where do you think that comes from? Like, why are we so concerned with wanting? And I don't mean Bethany, but I mean like writ large. Why is there such an appeal for contemporary worship, or historically has there been?
Yeah. Well, if you look at sort of the history of the last 30 years of the, sort of the evangelical non-denominational churches, what we saw was like 30 years of just unbridled growth. It's just nothing but explosive growth, for several decades.
Yeah.
And so I think people got it into their minds like, well, this is just the future. This is where things are. This is just the way it's going to be from now on. And so now what we're finding in the last, 5 years at least is like, no, that sort of thing has reached its peak and is now on the decline. And we have a significant number of people interested in, more traditional things, and most notably a lot of young people.
Exactly.
And that's what's so encouraging for us is that we're
well
very
positioned.
Positioned to fill that need.
I totally agree. I had people send me articles all the time about anything that's happening in church, which I really appreciate. So please keep doing it. But yeah, there was a Washington Post article about the Catholic Church this Easter performing more conversions and baptisms than in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's not just one diocese. It was like they listed so many different dioceses across the United States.
Right.
And some of that they're saying like, is this because of the American Pope? Like, okay, maybe that's a little piece of it. But I also think, my hypothesis is that we have been so saturated with entertainment for so long now, and that I think people are just like, I need something different. Like I want like quiet, and I want structured, and I want ancient.
Yeah. Because
I'm so tired of being tied to my phone and being constantly entertained by the next 6-second clip.
Yeah.
And so the traditional churches are well suited for this. The other article I saw was about Greek Orthodox seeing a huge explosion in young men returning to church, and they're theorizing maybe for some similar reasons. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about what is causing the resurgence?
I think it's just people becoming aware to, the frankly, the superficiality of a lot of that type of thing where, like you said, church is like a show, and it's lights, and it's fog machines, and it's loud music, and it's sitting and consuming something rather than being actively involved in the worship,
Yeah.
So in our liturgical worship, you sit, you stand, you say prayers, you sing, you remain engaged, and you don't just sit there and listen to a band for 20 minutes and then listen to somebody speak for 40 minutes.
Nobody needs to listen to me speak for 40 minutes.
I would listen to you for 40 minutes.
Thank you for listening to the Together for Good podcast.
But I think that's a big part of it. I think, young people sort of discovering, this is 30 years later from when this movement started, and we're a different generation, and this is not, and of course that doesn't speak for all young people.
No.
I mean, there's a wide variety
Totally.
of opinions, but there is a significant movement within that. Is like, this is not our music, this is not our vibe, and we're looking for something, deeper from church and more rooted in the historic Christian faith.
Well, and I think too, it's just it can't be about like taste, because people have a variety of different musical tastes, and I mean, maybe at classical music concerts it tends to be older individuals who attend those than and the younger ones are at Red Rocks seeing some sort of band, but that's not entirely true. And I just believe like that's the wrong question for church to be asking. Right. Like we're not trying to entertain you and wow you. Like we're trying to share with you something a much deeper than these surface level tastes. Right. Yeah. Right. And that's just, I think it's how you present whatever it is that you have to offer. Right. Like in a church, a Lutheran church, given our deep DNA and roots in these like incredible pieces of music, like how do we just talk about that? Like, hey, come experience this thing that's given like joy and life to people for hundreds of years, that's connected to these like really big eternal theological promises. Right. Like that's more of come and like the music's really good and you'll be entertained in the fog machine. Makes a really cool setting. Yeah, I just don't think that's the game church should ever be playing, especially a Lutheran church. I don't know. Thoughts on that or pushback?
And it's not that music shouldn't be good. I think in today's church environment where we're really struggling to keep people, not just young people, just people in general. I think one of the big mistakes of the mainline Protestant church over the many decades is just starting too many itty-bitty little churches, and so none of them have the capacity to do music really well. It doesn't matter what kind of music they're doing. Yeah. And I know that sounds kind of maybe judgmental or something, but I mean, all these musicians at these little churches, they're doing the best they can.
Absolutely.
But they don't have the resources to hire people to do, traditional music at the level that we do, or contemporary music at the level that the big,
cathedrals or whatever.
The big, mega churches do. And I just think there's fewer and fewer people in today's church environment that want to come here.
Mediocre.
Frankly, mediocre, bad music. So it's kind of, for most churches, not all churches, but for most churches, just mediocre, really amateur-y music is just not a viable strategy.
It's such a great point. And people, I know a lot of folks come here and they're like, I came to your church because of the organ. It makes us very unique. Like, first off, someone of your talent makes us very unique. But even just us having an instrument like this is not common in churches anymore. Like, because they're expensive and you need to be very specially trained in how to play it. It's not just like, I can play piano, so I can play organ. Right. It doesn't quite work like that. And not a lot of people are going to organ school or majoring in organ or even learning how to play the organ anymore. Yeah.
Well, there's a surprising number of young people,
Oh, good.
young organists. You watch a few YouTube videos, by some of these young organists, and you'll, like anything else, you'll get a flood of, suggestions. And there's tons of very talented young organists out there. So, there's a lot more organ opportunities in cities other than,
that's fair.
Colorado is not a mecca for lots and lots of church. I mean, more in the East and the Midwest, but.
Yeah, well, and I went to a music school, like a school that had a really strong music program, and so I knew there were a lot of organ majors there, but I also knew that my institution was a very peculiar place, and that they were, that this was not necessarily the norm anymore.
Yeah.
But it was fun. We had daily chapel, and I would go most of the time, and that's when the organ students would play, and that was varying degree. Like sometimes you were late for class because Jimmy was playing so slow. It's like, pick it up, man.
Yeah.
We got 5 verses of this, and I got to get to class.
Well, for example, St. Olaf, they're still very.
That's where I went.
Very strong organ program.
Yeah.
My alma mater, Indiana, very strong.
Go Hoosiers.
Eastman,
Sure.
schools like that. Michigan, still very strong organ programs.
Yeah. And, I mean, to your point, though, there's just so many churches, so many Protestant churches that it can be very hard to fill that particular position. Yeah. I think about like my first congregation, I remember we were doing the budget and I was like, hey, I'd really like in the budget for next year, $200 so that I can buy the youth group pizza like once a month. Like if we could just if we could find a way to work in $200, and that was my youth ministry budget. Right, like just to show you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, gosh, like that is very hard to do ministry. Like, and it's a wonderful church and really like faithful, caring people. And because it had dwindled to such a size, and the finances were so sparse, it made ministry really, really difficult. Yeah.
And I understand. I think I've also heard there's a big movement towards really small like house churches or churches that don't have professional clergy and just small groups of people that meet. And that's great, if that's the type of church environment that some people want, I think that's wonderful. But if you want to operate a church like this in this day and age, kind of like we've been talking about, I think we just have to do a better job at everything that we do. And we need to concentrate our forces, together rather than dissipate across, way too many congregations.
And it's not just across congregations. Like I also think there's an aspect to what you're talking about just within churches, even large ones, where you are trying to be so many things to so many people. And I wonder if, you could just try to focus in and say, like, we're going to do these 4 things really, really well.
Yeah.
I feel like that would move the needle so much more. Because really, right, like what is church about at the end of the day? What I learned in seminary is it's the place where the people get together and the sacraments are administered and the word is preached. Right? Like that's our baseline of what we're trying to do here. And the rest of it is important and serves that wider purpose, but also like these are the core things that a church needs to be doing.
Yeah.
And so if that's all it is, like, how can we do all of those really, really well? And it would be interesting to see how many churches would be like, oh, like if that's what we're trying to do, then maybe we don't need to do this and this and this and all these other pieces around the edges to kind of focus in.
Yeah, I completely agree. This business of trying to be all things to all people, or at least too many things to too many people, that's not a good. If you're running a business, you're going to go out of business pretty quickly if you don't have an identity and a focus, and you just today we're a little of this, and next week we're a little of that, and mix these 3 things together, and it's a little something to make everybody happy. It's like that's not a very sound strategy.
No, right? Like it works like in like 3 if you're Walmart, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you have to just be so massive.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way it's possible. Kind of to your original point too. Is like, if you could just become this massive, massive place, then you can be all things to all people. But until then, no, like just be the bakery, right? Like just be the candlestick maker, or whatever.
What's wrong with that?
Right. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So from a worship standpoint though, how are you thinking about your work here, right? Like what are you hoping to accomplish or offer as you direct music at Bethany? to use your official title?
Oh, wow. That's a pretty broad question.
I know.
You know?
And you can take it whatever angle you want, but I figured you'd have some kind of interesting insights. And it's like a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Because people just show up and they're like, oh, like I like this hymn, I didn't like that hymn. The choir anthem was awesome. But I
Yeah.
know it's so much more intentional than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very gratifying when people express appreciation or clap for me or for the choir, but that's obviously that's not what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care whether people remember my name or my face or my bald head or anything like that. I just care about, did people feel the Spirit of God moving
Yeah.
in this space
Yeah.
when they come here? And that is getting back to sort of the professionalism. It's not, being professional to be competitive or puff yourself up. It's because it requires a very high level of skill
Yeah.
to do something that truly moves people, as opposed to just, oh, that was nice, And I think that's what we're called to do. Our various musical ensembles, that practice every week, and the organ music, and just everything that we do to plan worship.
Yeah.
It's not to satisfy our own egos or performance desire, but to provide a spiritual experience that people feel inside, and of course to just serve the message, the text, what you're preaching that day, that sort of a thing.
I think about that a lot, or I have been thinking about that a lot just in the last week. We just got out of Holy Week, and I mean, I'm just like so overwhelmed and appreciative of what we are able to offer the community here. Like, I'm just so proud of it. Starting from Palm Sunday all the way through, and I think in particular about the Good Friday Seven Last Words of Christ Dubois piece that the choir put together with, and we had the orchestra as well. Yeah, and it was just like, it's so unbelievable, and it gets me so excited too. Of like, oh my gosh, like look at what's possible here, right? Like what we are able to offer, and it's so unique and it's so powerful. And what I love about the Dubois piece in particular, because I feel like that one really gets at what you're talking about. We didn't applaud. Right, like it wasn't the emotional space of the evening for there to allow for applause, and it was just so rooted in telling the story. Right, that's all it's trying to do, is just like, hey, this story has been around for 2,000 years. You probably know it, but have you ever heard it like this before? Yeah, and that's what it does. And there's just something very profound about that insight of, like we can kind of get out of the way too. Like it isn't about being like showy and fancy and clever necessarily. Like sometimes just portraying the message in a new way it is in of itself so powerful, right? Like and that's not to diminish, obviously, like there was so much work and talent and beauty in what the choir and the orchestra offered, and it was just the story. But I don't know, there's something about that that I'm still struggling to get my words around, but that was very profound in its simplicity and its beauty all at the same time. And it's not like that was a simple piece whatsoever, but I don't know. Do you have any, I rambled a lot there, and I would love to hear your kind of reaction to that.
Well, yeah, just sort of circling back to what we talked about before, you've got these, in the Tenebrae, you've got these 7 passages, the 7 last things that Jesus said from the cross, and maybe a few words besides that. And so we read each one in sequence, and then there's a incredibly specifically tailored piece of music that amplifies that, just tailored to that one little slice
that
of
little
scripture.
Phrase, yeah.
And so that's just so incredibly powerful.
It's unbelievable. And it shows the magic of that type of musicality, I think. Yeah. Right.
It's a lot of work. It's something that we have to, I guess, contrive in a way, but it's like I said, sing to the Lord a new song. It's something that we do.
Do you know of any other pieces of music like that one? Not necessarily for Good Friday, but I was just curious too. Like, are there other points in the year where there's beautiful music that's been written that's like amplifying a core little message or anything?
Yeah. Well, one of the big ones is, all these requiem settings. It's the text of the traditional requiem mass that we typically do. We used to do those on Good Friday. Liturgically, it's not really appropriate. We do it on All Saints.
Okay.
So, the requiems by composers like Fauré and Duruflé, which we have done also, and which have also had a similar reaction to the Dubois piece, where people just, especially on an emotional day like All Saints, where we remember those who have died, and people have a really emotional reaction to those pieces sometimes.
And that's what music can do, right? Like we should talk about that as well, is that music offers, I think, since the beginning of religion, not just Christianity, but just kind of any tribal religion, music has been intimately connected with religion, just because there's something about singing or making music that seems to connect us with a higher power, right? Like it's just expressing ideas and words and emotions in ways that are more mystical, beyond, not to get too woo-woo, but and so with that, you're right, like when there's these deeply emotional days, music can be one of the most powerful, important things that we do.
Yeah.
Just because it's able to finally give expression to what we couldn't quite figure out or articulate ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's play Stump the Pastor. What is the first reference in the Bible to anything musical?
Oh, wow. This is a great question.
Yeah. He's thinking.
I don't know.
It goes all the way back to the 4th chapter of Genesis, where Jubal is mentioned, as being a player of the lyre and the pipes.
Lyre and the pipes in the 4. Okay,
So
I was trying to go through the days of creation. I didn't hear anything in there.
No, but that's Genesis 4. That's really early.
It is.
And it's very interesting that instrumental music is mentioned before even vocal music. I think the first reference to vocal music is Exodus 15.
Is that when Miriam sings and dances?
Moses and
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have in the Psalms, that's all about singing. That's
Totally.
like their hymn book, and it mentions singing, and it mentions all these different instruments.
Yeah.
Here's another Stump the Pastor.
Oh, gosh. It's embarrassing.
Did you know that the Bible has evidence of professional musicians in the temple, in Old
Really?
Testament times? Yeah, in Nehemiah and Chronicles.
It mentions.
Just sort of as an aside, there's like a mention of the temple musicians and how they're to be paid. It sort of implies that they were like full-time employees, if you will, of the temple.
Of the temple, in order to offer those gifts.
Yeah. So music, at least at the big temple in Jerusalem, was kind of a fancy,
and an important
thing.
Piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and like we were saying too, and it always has been, and it's. There's just something different that happens when. Well, I talk about this a lot too with the confirmation class. Singing together is group meditation.
Yep.
Because you are breathing at the same time, and studies have shown like your heartbeats start to align with those around you when you sing in unison, and right, happy birthday, take me out to the ball game, and church are the places where people sing together. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer a normal part of our culture, unfortunately.
And it would be a shame to lose that.
It would be a shame to lose that.
The only other places where large numbers of people sing together is, in the schools. The middle schools, the high schools, where music
concert
is well
choirs
supported.
There's
many, many young people this is sort of where the epicenter of singing together is in our schools today, even more than our churches.
Yeah, it is interesting how I understand like some people just don't like to sing, and I feel like you're missing out. But it's it's embarrassing and it's vulnerable, and you don't have a good voice, so you don't want to be seen as imperfect or whatever. But I don't know, it's just so much better when people sing together.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have the big Synod Assembly here. I'm very excited about that. I know you've been working hard with Kirk. And Pastor Gary and people from the Synod on designing that worship. But that's a cool experience because these are people from all these different, a lot of the times much, much smaller churches around the Denver area.
Yeah.
For us to be able to offer that all together and to get them an experience that. Can you give us any little sneak previews or anything?
Oh, gosh. I mean, we're going to have the Denver Brass Quintet
Are we really?
playing, yeah, as we
that's
do on
awesome.
Easter and Christmas.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. The choir is doing a couple fun anthems. There's some sort of a guest musician that's, I guess he's Indonesian. He's going to sing a song.
Oh, cool. Okay.
At communion. So yeah, it's going to be kind of, just a big festival
Worship service.
kind of a thing. And then there's another worship service on Saturday that I think some of our Sounds of Praise folks are going to.
Oh, cool. They're playing in. Okay.
Yeah, we still haven't finalized what that service is going to look like, but
Plenty of time.
that'll be a different thing from the Thursday one.
No, thanks for putting all that together. I think that's really powerful, especially for folks coming from smaller places where this will be the largest worship service of the year that they get to participate in.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. Looking ahead, what should we be working on, Rick? You and me, you and the rest of the Bethany staff, as we look forward to the future for worship at Bethany. What kinds of things would you hope we'd be putting our time and energy into?
Well, you and I should write another liturgy setting.
We should. I love it.
If folks don't know, like he's Hammerstein, I'm Rogers, and we've done
a
two
couple, I
things
think. Yeah.
at least. Because you wrote that Bethany Unity liturgy. You wrote the words to that.
I did. Mm-hmm.
And you wrote the words to the Advent liturgy. And I think you wrote some words like that hymn that we sang on Maundy Thursday.
On Monday, Thursday, I did.
You wrote extra words. That was awesome. So.
I have to tell you about that too. Part of that, so my grandfather was a Lutheran pastor, and he was a very good musician. And when he passed, my dad gave me this collection of hymns that he had written new lyrics for.
Oh, nice.
And so that has been like an inspiration of mine, of like a way to kind of honor grandpa, of like, yeah, that's just a fun thing. I can't do the musical side of things, but I can figure out words once in a while. And I know enough music that I don't get in too much trouble. Yeah. It's been fun. So yeah, more music. We can do that. That'd be fun.
There's just this unbelievable wealth of tradition, that is bequeathed to us that we haven't even scratched the surface of.
Right.
So we do that, and at the same time, we write new music, and that's sort of like we started the conversation out. That's the beauty of the liturgical structure, is that we have just this unbelievable wealth of stuff that's been handed down to us, and we create new things to go with it,
Yeah.
And that's sort of echoing, we get to be creators, the way God created the earth, in some small way we echo that, and I think God intended it that way.
I think you're right too, is that the creative process is a part of worship, right? Like that's the way we honor God, is by living out those creative pieces, right? Yeah, I really like the way you put it, is that God has created the world and we're made in God's image, so we then can create as well in our own ways, and that God delights in that. Yeah. Rick, thanks. We should do this again.
Yeah.
Not in 5 years' time.
Okay.
I'm so sorry it's taken so long, but I appreciate all you're just such a wealth of knowledge and really fun to talk to. And I feel like we think similarly about a lot of this stuff, which is also encouraging and affirming.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed our talk very much. So yeah, let's do it again soon.
Let's do it again soon. One last thing. Rick has a concert coming up on May 1st, and he's going to be doing a whole bunch of different postludes. Laura Tribby, who's one of our vocalists and one of the youth choir directors, she's going to be singing in it as well. Rick, anything else they need to know about this?
The title of the concert is Get Out of Here, subtitled Favorite Postludes for the Church Here. So it's sort of like, people, I try to do fun, not entertaining, but, fun, exciting postludes. So it's sort of like a dinner full of desserts,
That's a great way to put it. Okay.
But yeah, just a wide variety of stuff. None of the pieces is long, so it's not like I'm doing a 40-minute symphony by Vidor or anything like that. It's a lot of short pieces and a very wide variety. And the fabulous Laura Tribby, of course, she'll be singing with it. She'll be singing on some of
her voice is incredible. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So are you going to do that really long postlude that you've done at Easter from sometimes?
I am going to do the same postlude that I did for Easter.
That one's awesome.
Yeah. That's one of the organ's greatest hits. So that'll be on the program.
And Phantom of the Opera or no?
No.
Okay.
Because it's not a postlude. But I have another piece that's like has a Halloween scariness to it, similar to that. But yeah, I just couldn't do Toccata and Fugue because it's just not a postlude.
Okay. You've done that you did that this year, I think, on Halloween, right?
I think so, or close to it.
Yeah, I think you did. Oh, it's the best for the prelude.
Right.
Right. Anyways, so yeah, check it out. May 1st. Get out of here. Postludes.
Friday, May 1st, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Awesome.
Be there, be square.
Hey, and you, dear listener, thank you for listening. Feel free to share this conversation with family and friends and let us know what you're thinking about worship here at Bethany and in the wider audience as well. And as always, friends, stay in peace. Thank you for listening to the Together for Good podcast. If you'd like more resources for your walk of faith, please visit our website, bethany-denver.org, or download our mobile app by searching Bethany Connect in your phone's app store.